Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am one of your hosts, Jacob Milham, joined this evening by the illustrious Jeremy Hokius Greco. Jeremy, happy hey to all who celebrate, huh?
Happy, holy cow, what the heck just happened?
We are recording this just minutes after a crazy series finale
Whoa,
against the Baltimore Orioles. Shut the book. The Royals are above 500. Come on. Like, how often would you have taken that in like the 2000s, though?
Every time, probably. Now I got to check the standings because I want to know if the season ended today, would they be in the playoffs? And the answer is absolutely. They would be a wild card team.
They would. All right. I'd take that. I don't know about you. All right.
I would. Thanks. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they can do better when all is said and done, but I would take it.
Okay. I like it. So we're going to talk about this Baltimore Orioles series, which was absolutely crazy. Plus, we have a lot of other stuff to talk about. We got to hop on the Jack wagon, and we hope you do as well. Plus, we're going to preview the Chicago White Sox series that starts on Monday, and we got to talk about a big MLB thing that, fans love the league versus the players stuff, and this might be a great instance of that. But before we dive into it, please go make sure that you check out royalsreview.com. I know we talk about game threads and game recaps and the rumblings, so many things over there at the website that you can go and enjoy. But I'm looking at the game thread from today, V2 comments on that thread. Like, I get it. It's cool talking about it on social media and stuff like that. I like the game thread sometimes. Go and you can talk with other Royals fans. So go check that out next time you're online.
I got to tell you, we put so many comments in the Royals Review Slack today about the game that Max was like, "What are you all doing? Go in the game thread."
Yes, and he is the leader after all. He just had to lead us back onto that course because we have a lot of great Royals minds.
I complained that the game thread doesn't give me push notifications.
Which is valid.
He made us our own chat room on the Slack to talk about the games.
There you go. And there was plenty to talk about on Sunday against the Baltimore Orioles. It was a back and forth affair for much of the game before the Royals finally pulled away. And Jeremy, I would love to just talk about a Royals win in general, but there were so many home runs today that I think we have to talk about it.
Franchise record, 7 home runs hit by the Royals, an MLB tying record, 10 solo home runs between the two teams. And then Maikel Garcia decided that he was too cool for a solo home run and launched a 2-run jack.
Jeez Louise, Michael, come on, get with the program, man. But no, it was home runs up and down the lineup for the Kansas City Royals today.
Craig Brown noted on social media that between the 3 home run game last night, which was the first time the Royals had hit even 3 home runs in a game all season, and the 7 home run game today, the Royals had scored 40%. Or had hit 40% of this entire season's home runs. After today, the Royals have hit 25 home runs. Over the last 2 days, they've hit 10. That's 40% of their home runs in 2 games. I additionally did the math and determined that the Royals hit 28% of their home runs just today. Just 1 game, more than a quarter of their season's home runs.
That is insane. And I don't know if it was I think it's just a pure good combination of Camden Yards. They moved in that left field fence. It's a little bit more home run happy there. And plus that Orioles pitching staff isn't great. Yeah.
There was also some no doubters to center and to right field.
Yes, that there was. But also this Baltimore Orioles pitching staff just is not super great. I get it. They blanked the Royals on Friday night. But since then, they haven't looked super stellar, and today was a massive black eye on that hopeful contender who is just flailing right now, losing the series after the Royals came to Camden Yards last fall and swept them out of the postseason. Jeremy, what are just instant reaction? What are your thoughts on this series win? I think it's pretty big.
I mean, this is what you and I predicted in the game preview that we put up on Friday. So that's that feels good, obviously. I don't think anyone predicted that the Royals would have to win one of the games 11-5 by hitting 7 home runs. I don't think anyone would have believed us if we had said that that was going to happen. So I feel like today's game to me is, first of all, I had meant to, when we started this, ask you if today's game was exciting enough for you, because you complained about one of the Royals wins. It was like, oh, that was a boring win. And I was like, it's a win. It's exciting. But this win was back and forth all day until the Royals were just like, we have had enough, and just absolutely shelled the Orioles for the last couple of innings. And then the Orioles, they left Angel Zerpa in for the 8th inning, and the Orioles were like, oh, let's come back. And then Luke
Yep, slam that door real quick.
time and time again under manager Matt Quatraro is that this team does not ever give up. Not ever.
No.
They keep coming back. It would have been so easy for a team that has struggled offensively all year. Even last night, hitting 3 home runs, they scored only 4. And to say, oh no, the Orioles came and took the lead. Okay, we got it back. Oh no, they tied it up. Okay, we took it back. Okay, now they took the lead again. They just kept coming back. And they kept going, and you don't hit all those home runs if you're not still laser focused on winning this game. If you've already given up and you're like, this game is over, it doesn't matter, your focus diminishes, you don't hit the home runs. Because this was not a day, even though the home run total might tell you otherwise, this was not a day that was like, let's hit all the home runs. It was a day that was still a little cold up in northeast Baltimore, northeast part of the country, Baltimore's. This was a day where you had to really, and there was no wind, so you had to really hit it if you wanted it out of the park. And they did.
That they did. They really wanted it outside of Camden Yards. And I do want to pivot here real quick, though, because to your point about the boys in blue fighting back a lot more, I think it adds another element because the pitching wasn't stellar today. I mean, the Royals nearly doubled up the Baltimore Orioles, but the pitching staff still gave up 6 runs, and Michael Lorenzen gave up 4 home runs in his 4 2/3 innings. So I think it would have been easy seeing Michael Lorenzen walk off the field when the Royals are trailing and the Orioles have all that momentum right now and just roll over. But the bats finally said, hey, we are going to win this game. You can trust us to carry the team to victory. And that's exactly what they did today.
And Luke Bailey got his first start as a Kansas City Royal. Hit a home run. Salvi was back in the lineup today, didn't hit a home run. Is it time to cut Salvi and keep Luke Bailey as the new starter?
I highly doubt it. Yeah, Salvi wasn't legging out some of those infield singles like he usually does, which I think that's a good time. We do need to update listeners on what is going on with Salvador Perez. So we heard a little bit in the pregame show from Royals general manager JJ Piccolo about what's going on. To put it in summary, the team decided that it wasn't something that deemed a 10-day IL stint, rather like a couple of days of rest and then easing him back in behind the plate. But those couple of days of rest, and you need that emergency option. So that's why they brought up Maikel from Omaha, selected his contract, which he had a good day in his own right. He had a home run, he had a walk, a good first start from him. I don't expect him to keep up this pace, but still good stuff. If you were watching the game, you could see it looked like Salvador Perez was hindered a little bit by that hip injury. He's still jogging and he's still able to put a charge into the ball, but he's definitely not 100%. But I was glad to see him in the lineup today, Jeremy.
I don't know how much of that is it hurts to run and how much is I've been told I had best not run full strength.
I bet it's both.
He was even slower than normal, but he did come up with, I think, a couple of hits, didn't he? It was at least one.
Yeah, he had 2 hits today.
So, he was still productive out there. I was making fun of him, about Maikel, but yeah, Salvy's still useful to have around, it looks like.
Yes, that he is, and yeah, he wasn't like dead weight in this lineup today. I'm looking up and down, and I don't see anyone in this. I think every starter got a hit.
Yep, and 6
in
of
this
them
game.
got multiple hits.
Yes, but the guy that we
One
have
of
to
the
talk
ones that
about,
didn't get a multiple hit, Luke Bailey, did get a walk. So only Hunter Renfroe and Michael Massey didn't reach base twice.
boo.
And Massey
Well, I
did
guess
hit the 2-run homer.
We're grading on a curve here, I guess. But the star of the show today undoubtedly was Maikel Garcia, going 3 for 5 with 2 home runs. Reportedly, if I am remembering correctly, this should be his first career multi-home run game. So congrats to Garcia there.
First multi-home run game for a Royal this season. First back-to-back home runs when Bobby and Vinny went back-to-back. And I got to tell you, you ready for this, Jacob? I've got some important information for you.
Okay.
The current WRC plus leader on the team, Maikel Garcia, 147 WRC plus. Bobby Witt Jr. with the 2 hitless days the last couple of days. He did hit the home run today. He's back up to 142.
Wow.
The hair behind Maikel Garcia. Do you remember, Jacob, when everyone wanted Maikel Garcia cut during the offseason?
I do remember some of those calls, and frankly, it was kind of hard to blame fans at that point. But this
was it, because I feel like I had a really easy time blaming them and saying that you should not do that.
But there are also fans
incorrectly, Jacob.
No, you don't remember incorrectly, Jeremy. You're the resident ball knower, okay?
Multiple articles about how it makes sense to give Garcia and Melendez, one more opportunity, at least one more opportunity. Melendez only one more. Garcia, we keep him around for a while because he did contribute defensively and on the bases, even if he wasn't hitting. But I still thought he could hit.
I think it's funny that Maikel Garcia's WRC plus today in today's game alone was 593.
He's hitting, and you know what else he's doing, Jacob?
What is it? What else is he doing? He's just hitting, right?
Pulling the ball.
And lifting the ball as well, if I recall.
But mostly what I'm concerned about is he's pulling the ball. He's pulling it. Good things happen when Maikel Garcia pulls the ball. I'm going to go look it up. He's pulling it currently 38.5% of the time. He's going the other way only 22.9% of the time. He's pulling it, and he's going up the middle. That's when good things happen for Maikel Garcia. When he goes the other way, and this is what he was doing during that mini slump after the really hot start to the year and the hot stretch he's in now, is he was hitting line drives the other way, really weak line drives that would carry, and the outfielders would catch him. That's not what I know. That it looks nice to the broadcasters. You're like, that could have been a hit, but it's not, because the outfielders are ready for that.
Exactly.
And if he keeps pulling it, the outfielders will have to shift back to the middle. And then you know what'll happen, Jacob? Those line drives to the right will go into the gap again.
Exactly.
And he'll get hits that way too.
So trust the process with this, because here's another thing that I was surprised to see. So in today's baseball, growing up, for me, it was always 300 hitter. Like that was one of the benchmarks that a solid hitter had to get at for me to think that they were amongst baseball's best. Right now, Maikel Garcia's batting average, I'm not going to say the number because you don't need to know the number. You just need to know where it stacks up in baseball. It's ranked 13th amongst all ball players.
Does that include today's stats?
It does, yes.
Okay. Because it went up today.
Exactly, yes, that it did. So, hey, good on Maikel. The adjustments that he made at the plate, MLB.com's Andy Rogers did cover it at the start of the season, but from us, from other outlets, did not get the same sort of coverage because we were all hoping that, MJ Melendez was going to finally turn that corner. And it seemed like Maikel Garcia's adjustments were a little bit more subtle. You expect ball players to evolve in the offseason a little bit and try to fine tune things. But man, whatever adjustments he has made in the offseason, they are paying off in spades for the Kansas City Royals right now. So kudos to him. He got the scoring started for the Royals today, and he just really set the tone for what Sunday's series finale was going to be.
I don't have the updated OBP rankings, but I love OBP at least as much as I love batting average. And he is 37th in Major League Baseball in OBP coming into today. And of course, that went up today too. So
as of right now, he is sitting 29th.
Yeah. That's that. So there are 30 teams, and he's the 29th best hitter by OBP. Pretty good.
He is.
Pretty good.
I'll take it.
I just wanted to put that in a little bit of context because it can be really easy to hear 29th and go, well, that's not really all that close to the top. Actually, in a world where there's 30 times 13 of these guys, it's pretty high up there.
Bobby Witt Jr. right now, or this is the leaderboard I'm looking at. I'm still seeing Bobby Witt on top for the Royals at 135 WRC plus.
Oh, yeah. Are you sure that's because I've got him at 135 yesterday? He's up to 142 today.
Okay, gotcha. So that's maybe I'm missing something here. I loaded up the page again, so probably a filter I've set wrong. So all in all, do you have anything you want to say about the pitchers today? It was kind of felt like the B team outside of Lucas Erceg. Michael Lorenzen getting the start, Steven Cruz, Angel Zerpa, and Taylor Clark coming on in relief to close things out. I think Cruz looked okay. I think Clark, who JJ Piccolo just had glowing things to say about Clark on the pregame show, I think he looked solid. But like you said, Lucas Erceg really just put the final nail on the coffin for the Orioles today.
I know in the Royals review Slack, there were a lot of people really mad about calling up Taylor Clark. He did not look great in Omaha. But I got to tell you, Jacob, 2 scoreless innings so far for the big league club. He fired a sinker to strike out. Who was that? He struck out looking to end the game today.
I forget who that was, but I was impressed with that sinker as well because he was locating it very well.
Yeah, he nailed the inside corner. And there was just
struck out Ryan O'Hearn.
Yeah, right. There was nothing he could do. There was absolutely, and Ryan O'Hearn's been tearing the cover off the ball, everybody. Okay?
Yes.
I know we all remember Ryan O'Hearn being bad. He's been very good this year, and there was nothing he could do with that pitch except watch it go in for strike 3. That was a perfect pitch. I am perfectly happy to see more Taylor Clark.
Yeah, and hey, the Royals were up 5 runs, and we didn't see Chris Stratton. I'm happy. Okay, I'm a happy man.
Chris Stratton, I've said it before, I've said it again. I mean, Taylor Clark just makes it even more obvious. There is no reason to have Chris Stratton around. Angel Zerpa can take the Chris Stratton role. Yeah. And then Hunter Harvey comes back, and he's going to pitch your 7th inning. You've got Daniel Lynch and John Schreiber to cover the middle innings, and you feel really good about Daniel Lynch and John Schreiber in the 5th and 6th innings, I think. Yes. Because they have been, I mean, John Schreiber had a really rough couple of outings to start the year, but he's been nails ever since. Daniel Lynch has been nails since last year. This is a bullpen that's gone from, well, we've got he, and then what? To a bullpen that's got, well, everybody here is pretty good except for Chris Stratton.
It's the Billy Bean quote. We have Erceg and Estevez. We have everyone else. There's 50 feet of crap, and then there's Chris Stratton, right?
Yeah,
is that where we're at?
But everyone else is still good. Like,
yes,
I feel like every team would look at the Royals and go, "Can I have Steven Cruz? Like, if you don't want him, we'll take him. Can I have Taylor Clark? Can I have John Schreiber? Can I have Angel Zerpa?" They would all say.
Listen, I know Royals fans aren't on the Zerpa train yet because he's looked a little shaky.
I'm not telling you that Angel Zerpa should be closing games or something. I'm just saying that he, as poorly as he's pitched, it's all in the context. It's based on a curve. He would. Yeah. A lot of other teams would look at his numbers and say that doesn't look too bad.
Mm-hmm.
We would like to try that.
And I am sure that come the trade deadline, some teams will be asking to get on that train and try it out.
And the Royals, well, I was going to say the Royals may still be looking for an outfield bat at that point. And if you can get it for Angel Zerpa or Angel Zerpa as in a package, then you would absolutely do that. But the next thing we're going to talk about, because I'm grabbing the steering wheel now.
Yeah, you are.
Is that they may not need any outfield help. They've got Kyle Isbell's looked pretty good out there. They've got Jonathan India's looked pretty good out there. They've got, they've got a mix and match with Isbell, Garcia, Waters and India out there. They've got to mix and match.
Mhm.
You just want one of those guys to just be, yeah, there's your big bat right there.
Yeah,
I want
preferably
a
on
guy
right
who
field.
can hit a home run on the building outside the stadium. Well, I've got a guy for you. Jack Caglianone started in right field last night and hit a home run to the building outside right field. The practice facility in Springfield, Missouri. And then, by the way, Jacob, while we were watching the Royals hit dingers all over the Baltimore Orioles, Jack Caglianone was hitting another one.
What?
6 home runs for Jack Caglianone. His strikeout rate is a very manageable 22%, something like that.
Okay, I'll take that.
I think that we're going to see him before the All-Star break.
That sounds valid. That sounds believable.
And I think that's the smart move. Is if he keeps going like this, first of all, he should be in Omaha before much longer, unless you want to go directly from Northwest Arkansas to Kansas City. He should probably be in Omaha within 2 weeks. AA pitching has nothing for him. They have nothing. What is he doing? If you're like, well, we're still not ready for him to be in the big leagues because he still needs to learn more right field, send him to Omaha and see if they've got anything to stop him.
Yeah.
Because Northwest Arkansas, the AA has nothing that can phase Jack Caglianone right now.
No, not right now.
So, and then I think what you do is you get him up the end of June, the beginning of July, and you say, all right, Jack, we're all on the Jack wagon now. Can you carry us? Can you do some big hitting from probably the 6th or 7th spot in the lineup? We're not going to put you in the middle.
Oh, man.
We're going to put you down at the bottom and let you see what you can do. And if he succeeds, great. Your problems are solved. You have a lineup. You have an elite lineup because Maikel Garcia has turned into a monster. Vinny Pasquantino is coming out of the slumber, which I also said was going to happen last week. Salvador Perez is out of his slumber. Bobby Witt is still Bobby Witt. Jonathan India's getting on base. All of a sudden, his OBP's back up over 400. And then you add Jack Caglianone to the bottom of the lineup. Yeah, that's a lineup. That'll work.
That will.
Again, if that works, great. You're good. You're done. You don't even need to add anything at the trade deadline. You're just like, yeah, cool. We're the Dodgers of the Midwest. Thank you. And if it doesn't work, if he comes up and he struggles, okay, thank you, Jack. Go back to the minor leagues, work on a couple of the things that we've now identified that you need to work on. We'll trade for that outfielder now. We've had an opportunity to see whether you could be the guy. You're not quite ready. We'll get somebody to fill in for the rest of the year. We'll see you next season.
And there you go. I wouldn't mind either one of those stories, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather Jack Caglianone, but that's what it is. Yeah. And that's the thing is like the negative scenario is Jack Caglianone goes back to Omaha, continues working on his pitch selection. Angel Serpa goes somewhere else, and the Royals get an outfield bat to fill out the roster for the rest of the season. So maybe Luis Robert, is this his last year on his deal?
It might be, but I don't want us to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. I'm just saying, just like we're not at this point. I'm not looking for Starling Marte. I'm looking for a real bat. Though Luis Robert hasn't been that good. We'll talk about him in a little bit.
Yeah. We'll talk about him in the series preview with the Chicago White Sox. So one thing that I thought was really cool and is going to get a lot more members on the Jack wagon, Jeremy, is the fact that Kansas City radio station 96.5 The Fan and two of their very popular hosts, the Cody and Gold show, they organized hundreds of Royals fans to go down to Springfield to watch Jack Caglianone and the Northwest Arkansas Naturals face off against the Springfield Cardinals. And he gave them a show Saturday night. He gave him a show Sunday afternoon. And man, if seeing that in person and hearing that pop off his bat in person doesn't get more Royals fans jazzed up, I don't know what will.
Yeah, everybody's get on the Jack wagon already. Let's go.
Choo-choo. So, versely to what you were bringing up with Maikel Garcia, because we weren't, the results weren't there when he was trying to spray it to all fields. But when you have 70 grade power, and I'm looking at this right now, he has 32% batted ball to all thirds, 32.5 pull, 32.5 to center, 35.1 field.
Sorry, what was that stat?
His batted ball. Like he's not just pulling the ball the entire time. It's easy for Royals fans to forget that batted ball that we were talking about, I think about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
like which would
20.9 miles per hour off the bat.
That was to the opposite field. That was past the shortstop. It was just a worm burner into left field. Like, he can hit it hard, and he can hit it hard everywhere. You're probably right that he should be in Omaha in 2 weeks. Should be. But will he, though?
And I wanted to bring up about the what you were saying about the fans going down to Springfield to watch him is what we were talking about last week or a couple weeks ago about how college players are closer to being MLB ready than ever, and how that might be good for the game. And Jack Caglianone, I think, is evidence of that. The way people have taken him in and are excited to see him. Is anybody organizing anything to go see Blake Mitchell? Noah Cameron, even, who's been very good. No, Jack Caglianone just got drafted, so he's got the draft hype still, but then he's also got the playing very well, should be in the majors very soon thing going on. So it's good for baseball. It's good for watching baseball. I'm excited.
Just a fun time to be a Royals fan. And if you want to share that fundom with other Royals fans out there, go check out RoyalsReview.com. No, tomato, boo, 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 boo. All right, on that terrible dad joke note, there are some injury updates that we need to get through real quick, Jeremy, because there's a lot of injury updates over the past few days. We had Kyle Wright down in AA making his first rehab start, went 4 innings, 60 pitches, so things are looking okay there. Not 1,000% sure of what the team is planning on doing, but Jeremy, to your understanding and secondhand to mine, seems like the team is still expecting him to be a starter in 2025.
Yeah, during the pregame show, they had the TV pregame show, they had an interview with JJ Piccolo where he indicated that it might be only weeks, not months of rehab starting for Wright to come back. So that was interesting to me. Basically, the way he phrased it was, we just got to get him up to 100 pitches a couple of times and then we'll go, which seems really, really fast to me, but we'll see what happens. And also he indicated that the Royals do still see him as a starter. It's Joel put a little wet blanket on your 6-man rotation idea. He says the team likes their routines. They don't want to change that. So that happened. But one thing that I think none of us have really talked about much is Wright does have an option left.
Yeah. You brought that up. That was a good idea.
Activate him and then just demote him back to Omaha, and he can serve as rotation depth. Of course, a lot of stuff can change even within a couple of weeks. We saw Michael Lorenzen has looked very good, but he didn't look good today. And we were talking during the preview that he's a changeup guy, so he should be able to get lefties. Well, the lefties were crushing him today. Yep. So let's not demote him after one start, but if that is a pattern that continues, that may be a spot that opens up for a Noah Cameron or a Wright. And then, of course, Cole Reagans is going to be back on the mound tomorrow. We'll talk more about that when we get to that series preview. If his injury, he keeps having leg injuries, if they determine that he needs to take some time off to figure that out, then you would need another rotation guy. So there's always moving pieces. These things always seem to work themselves out where somebody stops being good or somebody gets hurt, and there's actually plenty of room after all. You didn't need to worry about having too much depth.
Yeah. And if you're wondering about will they just do what they did with Bubic in 2024? Will they ramp him back up and put him in the bullpen? I don't foresee that happening personally in 2025, but for context, Chris Bubic did make 14 appearances down in the minor leagues during his rehab assignments before he rejoined the major league club. So certainly something to keep an eye on there with Kyle Wright, because after all, the Royals traded for him for a reason. He wasn't very good in 2023, but dang, that 2022 version of Kyle Wright looked like one of the future pitching stars of baseball. We talk about some of these shrewder moves that the Royals have done on the pitching side of the house. And if they can get Kyle Wright back even to 90% of his peak, that's a massive success story. But we'll talk about that if it happens. We'll see.
And that's What? How much? How much do they have for Wright? How much is left on his contract? Do you remember?
Well, here I'm going to look it up real quick because why do you bring that up?
Because Lorenzen's not under contract next year. Lugo's not under contract next year. So yeah, maybe there's not room for him this year. Maybe everybody stays healthy all year. Lorenzen figures his stuff out, but they'll need him next year.
Right.
Because you still need depth, even if you're like, okay, well, we have Alec, Marsh, and Noah Cameron. It's fine. Well, what if somebody gets hurt next year? Eventually, a pitcher has to get hurt, right?
Yes. That's just how it goes. So sorry, I'm double checking this to make sure that I'm looking at the correct one because, Kyle Wright right now he's in the second year of arbitration. Next year he has his third year of arbitration, and then he's going to be a free agent. So Royals have 2 more years, including this season of team control over Kyle Wright. But I'm sure that if he they might try to extend him before he even makes his MLB debut for a team-friendly, low-cost deal. Because at the end of the day, he's almost 30 years old, and he hasn't pitched in a major league game in nearly 2 calendar years. That's a long time. But we'll see what happens. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
If the Royals do that, I will celebrate because they have shown time and time again over the past few years that their pitching scouting, with a couple of obvious exceptions, and their pitching coaching has been absolutely fantastic. And so any move they make to add a pitcher, even if you're like, oh, I don't know, the team says he's good, I believe that he probably will be.
I will hope so. All right, some other injury notes that folks need to know. Alec Marsh, he did land on the 60-day IL earlier on this week. Just, he got that setback in early April. He's still on his throwing progression, but to open up a roster spot, he was kind of a sensible person to go on the 60-day IL. So hopefully we see him.
That was how Luke Maile got on the roster.
Thank you for the reminder, because I genuinely who was that to make room for? I forgot for a second. Sam Long, quote unquote, doing well according to manager Mac Potrero. Hunter Harvey is still ramping up. He did throw bullpen sessions on May 1st and May 3rd, working up to 30 pitches in each. So that sounds pretty good. Scheduled for a live bullpen on May 5th. And we already talked about James McArthur. Dairon Blanco's still sidelined, and so is Blake Mitchell, unfortunately. All right, Jeremy, what say we talk about this strike zone stuff before we get to our series preview against the Chicago White Sox?
Yeah, let's do it.
So can you give me a back of the milk carton summary about why the heck we're talking about strike zones in the year 2025?
So during the offseason, league redid the CBA with the umpires, and one of the things they negotiated was a reduction in the buffer zone for balls and strike calls, which would be considered correct. So previously, you had up to 2 inches outside the strike zone. You called a strike, it would still be considered correct by MLB, and 2 inches inside the strike zone, call it a ball, would be considered correct. They reduced that to 3/4 of an inch, which is, less than half. And what this has resulted in is the most accurate ball and strike calls since StatCast started tracking these things.
Hey, I like it.
So it seems to have had a net benefit, but some players believe, emphasis on believe, that the strike zone is now smaller and they're unhappy.
I don't like that.
You don't like that?
No.
What do you mean you don't like that?
I don't know. I'm still trying to process this because number one, that's a big change. Like when you think about the size of a baseball, it does, dropping from 2 inches to 3/4 of an inch doesn't sound like a whole lot.
To be clear, the strike zone did not change.
Yes.
Only the buffer zone for what would be considered a correct call or an incorrect call by an umpire changed. And that goes for pitches both inside and outside the strike zone, as I described.
Yes, that it does. So who do you think is more? So number one, let me start here. I think this affects pitchers, of course, the most. Like they're the ones getting put at a disadvantage right now because the allegedly because the goalposts are shifting around a little bit, and in the era of stuff over everything else. where these pitchers need to be working in the shadow of the zone, and alleged adjustment to that buffer zone is kind of a big deal.
Well, but the adjustment to the buffer zone shouldn't affect the pitchers. It should
It
only affect
shouldn't.
how the umpires call the game. And the umpires, as determined by the objective metrics, are calling the games more accurately than ever before. So if the strike zone is being called smaller, then it was being called too large before. And
True.
also, I don't think that that's true. I don't know if you watched the last two games, today's game and yesterday's game. A lot of pitches outside the strike zone were still getting called strikes.
You're right.
And that's been happening all year. I think that this is a thing that players feel that isn't true. That's why I emphasize a feeling, because watching the games, it doesn't seem any smaller to me. And obviously, as I said, the objective metrics say that the umpires are simply calling it more accurately.
And I think that's where my brain was broken a little bit, because like just watching games, like you say, it feels like that the zone has been more consistent, if you will. It's been like you can expect
We've had two perfectly called games already this year. I don't think we had any last year.
I don't believe so, no.
So it's made a huge difference in how the umpires approach calling the game. I don't think it's made a difference in the strike zone. I think players are just, I think there's probably, the only thing that I think might be actually happening rather than people feel is happening is perhaps we're seeing fewer makeup calls, because the umpires are unwilling to do a makeup call on a pitch that's a little bit further outside the strike zone, because now that goes against their metrics.
That makes sense. That does.
I think that could be a scenario that we're seeing. I don't have the data, obviously, but that's the only thing based on what data I do have makes sense to me.
And I think this is definitely going to be, let's see. I don't think a story like this is going to make a difference in who wins the World Series and who doesn't. But this is something that more, go ahead.
If the strike zone were smaller, it would benefit both teams' pitchers. It's the same thing as everyone complains about the Yankees field being a minor league stadium. Well, your team gets to hit home runs there too. Ask MJ Melendez. So it's just one of those things. It's like, this is not affecting the competition. It might be affecting you, the pitcher, but it's also affecting the pitches your team has. Again, I don't think it actually is.
No, I don't think it is either.
And we're gonna go, if they have a problem with it, they're gonna get the ABS next year. They can challenge it.
Right. And like that was the point that I was getting to, is because this is going to be, I think this is going to be something that they look back on when it comes to the ABS about the case for or against it. And also this is something that more diehard fans should be aware of heading into a possible impending lockout after the 2026 season, because, all these negotiations, players might try to leverage stuff like this if they feel like it's doing them an injustice, Jeremy.
One thing this does raise for me, it reminds me of Max Scherzer during the preseason, challenged 2 pitches and was wrong on both of them, and then gave an interview where he was like, I don't like this, it's bad, blah, blah, blah. And it made me think, man, veteran pitchers who don't quite have, the stuff that they're used to have, don't quite have the command that they used to have, because they're, it's their 20th year in the league or whatever. They're not going to get the benefit of the doubt anymore on the close calls, because first of all, the umpires are calling the strike zone more accurately. And second of all, when the umpires miss, the batter can challenge, and the computer don't care if you're Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see when that is implemented, how that affects some of the veteran pitchers, especially who are, obviously I think we're in agreement that Greg Maddux late in his career probably got, because he had a reputation as throwing strikes, he probably got a lot of calls that weren't really strikes.
I agree with that, and I'm sure if you go back and look at it critically, that is the case.
And even now, when we see the white box, when somebody's up there, they're not throwing a lot of strikes, they don't always get the benefit of the doubt. Noah Cameron, for example, he struck a guy out looking, except the umpire called it a ball. Then he called strike 4 a ball, and then he called strike 5 a ball. So the guy walked, but Noah Cameron wasn't throwing strikes at that moment. So he was a rookie. He was making his debut, so he wasn't getting the benefit of the doubt. So in the same way that it will harm perhaps veteran pitchers, it might benefit rookie pitchers. We'll just have to see how that all goes.
Yep. Just nice to keep a pulse on stuff like this.
Something to think about. But yeah, I think players are just whining because players. I'm always, you know me, I'm always, when it comes to players versus owners, I'm always on the player side every time.
Right.
But when it comes to players complaining about the rules, I'm just like, sometimes it's, come on, guys.
Yeah. Hey, let's go ahead and get to this quick series preview before we do our reviews. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
So just in case you're a little too fuzzy from all the flurry of home runs the Royals hit in Baltimore, Kansas City Royals do have more games to play in 2025, and they are about to embark.
News to you.
Apparently so. I thought it was the series finale today. I was ready to close the book on them. The Chicago White Sox will soon host the Kansas City Royals for a 4-game set, and we all love to beat up on the Chicago White Sox in the year 2025.
And then play the Red Sox for 3 games.
Hey, listen, if we're playing the White Sox in Fenway, I do have some questions, but. No, this is you looked up the numbers and things like that. I think the number that most fans are going to look at is the number 9, which is how many wins the Chicago White Sox have right now in the season. They are dead last in the AL by a wide margin. They are second to last in all of baseball. Not a whole lot going for that squad.
The Rockies.
Yep.
I mean, it had to be the Rockies, but all 6 wins.
Yeah, I'm about to do the math to make sure that I'm doing it right, but I need to see how much their expected win total
remember
is.
Remember when the Royals went 2-8 and everyone pitched a tantrum?
Yeah,
the Rockies are worse than 2-8 for the whole season. They're at a 182 winning percentage.
That's bad, buddy.
Can we play the Rockies some more? Is everyone going to talk about how the NL Central gets to benefit from playing the NL West gets to benefit from playing the Rockies when we see the NL West have 3 teams finish with 95 wins or more?
No, absolutely not, especially considering that 3, as of right now, 3 NL West teams are in the NL postseason picture. So, Jeremy, you pulled up some of the numbers. That's the big one for me, but let's go ahead and start off with the top. Are there any hitters that Royals fans should be super concerned about?
So Andrew Benintendi has been having a pretty nice season, but he has cooled off considerably.
Okay.
He started off the season very hot. He is now sitting at a 108 WRC plus. For context, that's the same number that Vinny had last year that everyone was going, is Vinny still a good hitter? I don't know. He does have 5 home runs, which is as many home runs as he had in all of 2023 and all of 2022. So the power's there, I guess, Andrew.
I guess. Good job, Andrew. Took you long enough.
Andrew Benintendi, the only other 2 players with at least 50 plate appearances that have been hitting are Matt Tice and a rookie catcher who's caught my attention, Edward Caro.
Yep, I got him on my dynasty team.
Nice. Matt Tice is also a catcher. So I'm guessing that one of them is going to be catcher and one of them is going to be playing designated hitter a lot. They can't, and they're both getting days off. Tice they got from the Cubs for cash.
Yeah,
Cuero they got from the Angels in the Giolito trade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking. I know they got a big catching prospect from the Astros at one point. I'm trying to figure out if he's even still on the team. I'm trying to remember Corey Lee.
Yeah,
he's played 9 games.
879.
He's injured. He's injured. So he was hitting okay, but he's hurt. So they're fortunate. All the Chicago White Sox have are catchers. Those are the only guys
Apparently
they have. No wonder they traded that one Chuck guy to the Angels in the offseason who was like a 30-year-old rookie that they called up late last year who was hitting pretty good.
Yeah, this is
all these other guys.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a pretty abysmal lineup from the run scoring side of things. I'm looking at their everyday guys, or guys that I would consider their everyday guys. Andrew Vaughn, not looking good. Miguel Vargas is like he'll get behind one every now and then, not great. I think you say it Lennon Sosa or Lenin Sosa.
Lennon.
I think it's Lennon. Luis Robert, Brooks Baldwin,
Luis Robert? Have I been saying it wrong this whole time?
No, he clarified on how to pronounce it last year. I think it's Robert,
Okay.
and I'm conditioned to say Robert, so I need
Yeah,
to fix myself.
well, that reminds me of when I used to watch the Colbert Show. Um, yeah, he's oh man, he's got a 300 OBP, but a 182 batting average. Power's
Yeah,
still there. The ability
it
to
is.
take walks is still there, but he can't hit anything else.
I think he's
31.8% strikeout rate. He's becoming 3 true outcomes out there. Does have
I think
13
the
stolen
White
bases.
yeah, which is very surprising. I think the White Sox are going to keep trotting him out there. Hopefully, that he can bolster his
Got
trade value
to.
a little bit. Yeah, like that's the only thing that they're playing for right now is the rebuild. So nothing in the lineup. Did you look at the probable starters
I
that the
did.
Royals are going to face?
So the Royals are going
Anyone
to be
we should be
pitching
worried about?
everybody but Lorenzen because it's a 4-game series. We start
Yep.
tomorrow with Cole Reagans versus Shane Smith, a 25-year-old rookie. He's made 6 starts for the White Sox so far. He does have a 2.23 ERA,
Nice.
but only a 10.5% K minus BB and a
Hmm.
4.30 Sierra. Fangraphs had him at a future value of 45. He's got an above average fastball, an above average curveball, a terrific changeup, and a below average slider, and he doesn't have great command. So he's a guy who's he's got the normal 4, the base 4 pitches, but he was pulled from the Brewers in the Rule 5 draft. I just see. So
Oh,
he's a guy that wasn't in the White Sox system until this year, and they just don't have a lot of options.
yeah.
So that after trading Garrett Crochet, so that's their guy that's going to start the first one.
Okay.
Let me
Sean
see.
Burke should be for game 2.
Correct.
2 and 4.
The game log. His last 2 starts, 5 innings each. He did give up 3 runs in the last one, but only 1 was earned.
Yeah.
He's been very up and down. Anyway, yeah. So Sean Burke,
Yes.
he is also a rookie. He debuted last year, but he didn't break the rookie boundaries, I don't believe. Only 19 innings pitched, 4 games, 3 games started. I'm not sure how much time he was on the roster, but I'm pretty sure he's a rookie.
Yes.
Average fastball, average slider that projects to someday be above average, great curveball, full changeup, no command. He has a 7.5% K minus BB so far this year, a 4.91 ERA, a 4.82 Sierra, and negative 0.2 WAR. Not been good.
Nope. Not been great at
And
all in that.
Look at the game log. He did have 6
Yeah.
shutout innings in his last appearance, which was he has 2 games where he's gone 6 shutout innings. His first start and his latest start. So
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll see what happens. Jonathan Cannon should be taking the bump for game number 3, 2 and 3 coming into the game with a 4.26 ERA.
He debuted last year. He's another below average FV guy at 45. He's got a decent fastball. He's got a slider that could really be something someday. Regular curveball, not a great changeup. He was projected as an innings eater, number 4 or 5 starter with a good slider by Fangraphs. If he's that, he's going to have to pitch better than he has.
I will say he did perform pretty well against the Royals in his last start, July 30th. Only gave up 1 earned run across 7 innings. So I don't know. We know how some of these random bad guys got the Royals number, and Jonathan Cannon might be one.
The Royals offense is what the Royals offense is at this point. So you just kind of got to accept that, I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then sometimes bad pitchers are just going to get them. And then the last one is Davis Martin, who is a guy I'd never heard of before, but he's been pitching for the White Sox off and on since 2022. This year, he has a 9.2% K minus BB. He has a 3.52 ERA, but only a 4.35 Sierra, 4.49 FIP. Just a bunch of guys. They're not awful. They're not terrible, but they're not good.
No, they're not dudes. There's no dudes on this staff.
They're not even guys if we're using the guy dude definitions. They're just they're guys who are standing out there.
Oof, that's rough. That is rough.
They're out there. They can throw some pitches. They can pitch some innings without giving up dozens of runs usually. but they're none of them
Usually.
good. And the offense is basically non-existent. That's why the White Sox have won so few games. The pitching, and some of those games they won the first series of the season, I believe, against the Angels.
They did. That was
some
very
of that
surprising.
was the pitching looked really good to start the year. So yeah.
But it's faltered as the season's gone along.
Yeah, I think most people expected without Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
Noah Schultz is a big pitching prospect for them that hasn't debuted yet.
Hagen Smith is another one.
Yeah.
They're just treading water until a lot of their prospects are ready, you know?
Yep. And they're calling up the catchers, and the catchers are ready. That's all they got. They got some catchers.
There's only so many catchers you can play on the field at one time.
I know Corey Lee was playing some third base and outfield, so when he gets healthy, I expect him to probably play out there so they can keep the other catchers behind the plate. Corey Lee's supposed to be very good defensively, but you got to get the bats in the lineup somehow.
Yep, exactly. For all the griping right now, they are getting massively unlucky. Their expected win-loss on the season is 14-19, which is still well below 500, but is definitely more respectable than 9-24 on the season. For them. All right, Jeremy. So now it is
differentials.
What'd you say?
Just get some big run differentials.
Yeah. We'll the pitching. So can I add another layer to our series predictions?
Sure, let's go.
I want us to predict how many total runs the Royals pitching staff will give up to the Chicago White Sox.
Okay, how many? 8. 4-game series, 8.
Okay. I'm going to go one above. I'm going to go 9.
That might be too many.
I think they'll go 9.
Okay.
I think you're going to have some Chris Stratton gems in there.
The Royals have had pitched shutouts in 4 of their last 9 games. And the Orioles can hit. The Rays can hit. Who did they play before the Rays? The Astros. The Astros got some hitters.
They do.
And they're pitching these shutouts. Now they're going to go face the White Sox at home. White Sox can't hit.
No, they can't. All right.
And the Royals might, I can't predict it, but I can dream that they could shut them out all 4 games.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine?
That'd be brutal.
Can you imagine?
Oh,
I think at some point
knife.
they'd let Chris Stratton pitch a game just for fun, and the White Sox would get a run off of him, but that's about it.
All right, let's get on to our predictions. So in my heart of hearts, I am going in and I'm expecting the Royals to sweep the Chicago White Sox. Smart money would say the White Sox would get at least 1 from the Royals, but I don't see where that comes in, frankly. I'm going to predict a sweep. I'm going to predict a 4-game sweep.
It's a wild thing to predict, but the White Sox are a wild team to play.
Ugh.
So I'm right there with you. Royals don't finish the series 3-1. It's not that it will be the end of the world, but I will just be absolutely stunned. I will be absolutely stunned. I will not believe that could have happened. Right. So I fully believe the Royals are going to sweep this series.
Yep. Right there with you. All righty, Jeremy. Let's go and get on to our reviews. How's that sound?
Hey, let's do it.
All right. I gotta figure out like some little jingles for our little segments here, so folks can know when we're coming up and stuff like that. It's just some food for thought.
Little tag.
All right. My review this week is over a novella that I read. You know, not a novel, a shorter version of a novel. What'd you say?
Too much baseball to watch. Don't got time for novels.
Well, I gotta read to fall asleep, man. Gotta get my head quiet a little bit. And I get my head quiet by reading books such as called A Short Stay in Hell, which is an interesting premise. I'm just gonna read off of this one. A normal Joe Schmo, family guy, geologist, a Mormon. He dies. He goes into the afterlife, and he wakes up, and it's completely different than what he's expected. The short summary of it is a demon tells him, hey, you can go to heaven after you do this one thing. And he's stuck in a massive library with other people, and they're trying to find the book that tells their life story, but it's every single book that possibly could have been written.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So it's just thousands of miles of books. And you know what? I thought it was interesting. Some of the characters. Right. I thought it was really interesting how like he adjusted to life there, and some of the other characters that he met in this journey. I went into it thinking it was going to be a little scarier, heavier. It really wasn't. And it's really short. It's 108 pages. So it was one of those stories. I was like, oh, cool. And moved on. Jeremy, over to you.
So I've been watching a YouTube video game retrospective channel called Andrew Blewett. The last few, like, not spelled the same way as Scott Blewett. It's Bluett, and he's got Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts and a few other series on there. And the Final Fantasy VII one that I just watched was like 4.5 hours. He gets really in depth into like who the people are that made it and like what were some of their motivations. And then, he also goes into the characters and the story and all kinds of good stuff, and just tells the story of how the game was made, what the game is, how the response to the game was, all that stuff, just the whole thing. And they're just so fun and informative, and I love, like, I ever since I was a kid, I'm like, documentaries are boring. But then I find myself watching YouTube video essays all the time, and it turns out that, much like when I thought school was boring as a kid, that I don't hate learning. I hate learning things I don't care about. I care about Final Fantasy, so I'm having a really great time watching these videos.
All right. I like it. This sounds like an entertaining YouTube channel. All right. We're going to go ahead and get on out of here and get on with our Sunday evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're still listening, make sure you follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening, or leave us a good old review. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can always comment on this episode if you want to chat with us. But I am Jacob Milham. There, Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, go Royals.